Welcome to PCA 2024, brought to you by Founders Cigars. Fantastic. Not only great cigars, because you need to have great cigars.
That's true.
But it's got a great story and a great mission purpose, right?
Yep.
And so I'm going to let Angelo tell everything that he wants to talk about Founders, and I might jump into a couple spots, but I'm just going to let you take the show and run with it.
Yeah, the one thing that I keep going back to about our brand is Brian and I, we launched this in 2020 when the world was shut down and isolation was thrust on everyone. And, Brian's an Air Force vet. I'm civilian, so I don't have any military experience, but I was very aware of the veteran suicide rates and depression and all of that is an abomination. And we saw that just rise up out of nowhere in 2020 and saw that in the civilian world too. So when we launched this brand, we looked at what's the best way to just trick people into hanging out? I was smoking cigars with a group of guys. Brian liked smoking cigars. And so that was such a good way for us to encourage people to spend quality time together, because it's not something you can rush through. It's not something that you can just pick up and sit down and go. It's like you actually have to sit down with someone and spend a good amount of time. And it usually pulls you out of whatever the heck you're got going on in your head. So I say that to say we're just a catalyst for community. That's the whole reason we exist, is we have cigars to trick people into community. And our whole thing is we want to have a good mission about it, but we also want to have a really good cigar to come back to if you didn't know any of that.
Right.
So there's been so many retailers today that I've been talking about. I know someone will buy the cigar because it has veteran owned stamped right on the top. My job is to make sure they come back to that cigar, even if they didn't know it was veteran owned, because a good mission only goes a certain way, but you got to have a good product to back it up. So
they'll buy the first one for the label, with the second for the flavor.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I can tell you the flavors are flavors, because you made my list last year.
So good to hear.
Number 21. And a lot of people had reached out to me afterwards and saying, tell me about this cigar, and where can I get it, and all these other things. So hopefully we've done our part to help grow your mission. We try to surround ourselves with people that are like-minded, right? That are not just out to make a buck, or not just out to build themselves up and have their hyper personality. And it really, really resonated with me when you were talking about we need an excuse to have a pause, and community is so important.
Right.
And COVID was one of those things, but also there's so many veterans that they don't have a chance to sit down and talk and tell their stories because they're afraid they're going to be judged, or they just don't want to talk about it, or this and that. And you have to have a community of trust and brotherhood, or sisterhood, that you're just hanging out, and you're just allowing yourself to decompress a little bit. Because the world doesn't want to give you that minute. They want to tell you that you need something to be complete. And
one of my favorite cigar memories after getting into the industry, I had done a trip to Virginia, met with our web developer Jake. He's done so much for us with the company. He's been instrumental for everything that we've done. So I went down and did a bunch of events with him, and got invited to a dinner above a cigar bar. And after the dinner, it was great. There was, a couple here, and then an older gentleman sitting here, and young guy sitting here, and me and Jake, and just kind of a motley crew of people, and just had an awesome night smoking cigars, eating really good food, and hanging out. And then when we left, Jake went, "Hey, let me tell you something about that group. You would never know that the two sitting there were basically independently wealthy. The one guy there was a 2-star general." The young guy that got up and had to leave early, he was going home to his husband, and whatever Jake and I have screwed up in our lives, it's it was so true that none of that, economic status, job status, who you're voting for, who you married, none of that. It was just a really cool night around cigars and food. And I truly believe that there is something special about this industry that a lot of the stuff just gets put away when you get down and smoke cigars with people. So
absolutely. Yeah. And so the story's great, the mission's great, cigars are phenomenal. So even if you don't grab a hold of the story, or don't grab a hold of the mission, and you still want to grab a hold of a good cigar, I'm gonna say this is the place to get you one and grab you one. So I appreciate you giving me just a couple minutes of your time.
Yeah, appreciate being back again. This is year 2.
Yeah, year 2. So we need to make this a tradition.
I think so.